if the flowers are all along the main axis here, there's one down here, those are called axial type flowers, and most pea plants have those. But every now and then you see a pea plant that doesn't have flowers anywhere except for the very end, or the terminal part of the stem. And then finally, there's two types of pea plants when it comes to height. Either have tall ones or short ones. All right? And lastly, the ones on the left, spherical, yellow, purple, inflated, green, axial, and tall, those traits became known as the dominant pea plant traits. And the ones on the right, yellow, constricted, white, so on and so forth, those became known as recessive pea plant traits. Most traits, when we get into this next week, are either dominant or recessive. And never both. They're dominant or recessive. We'll get into explanations next week. Braxton.
Around here, wouldn't the green be more dominant than the yellow?
Genetically speaking, no. But it just so happens we bred most of the pea plants around here to be homozygous for green, which I'll explain. All right, so tomorrow, fill in the blank. The dominant color for pea plant flowers is purple. The recessive color for pea plants is white flowers. You need to know that if you don't already. Go to Quizlet, make flashcards up, whatever you got to do. You need to know that. Just all of it.
Okay, this is kind of off subject, but kind of not. Okay. So my sister and I were talking, and the gene. She told me that the gene for little people versus the gene for, we say, average sized people. She said that the gene for little people is dominant.
Yes, it is.
So why?
We'll get into that.
Yep.
It's true, though. It's true. He was right. So, something to look forward to this fall, but we'll get into that. Okay. Hopefully you haven't grown tired of peas. He grew a lot of pea plants, though. Just remember. A lot of pea plants. All right, so what did Mendel do? Last thing for today. Well, Mendel had a beautiful garden. He had a greenhouse. He had a garden plot up there in the Alps. He lived up in the mountains somewhere. Beautiful weather most of the time, except for winter. A lot of rain, fertile soil. So he basically he had a great greenhouse and garden. The first thing he did was he grew pea plants, crossed them and stuff, and he created true breeding pea plants, otherwise known as purebred pea plants. So the last thing for today is to understand what true breeding or purebred means. Most of the time, we'll use these two terms when we talk about plants, but we will eventually get to using it to talk about things like dogs and cats and things too. All right? So what does it mean? Well, it's pretty easy what it means. If this is a true breeding purple pea plant, what this means is if we allow this thing to self-fertilize, produce seeds, and we plant the seeds, every single seed develops into a plant with purple pea flowers. There's no white. If something is true breeding, the offspring look exactly like the parent.
Are they clones?
Basically. Okay? So, a purebred purple pea plant only yields purebred purple pea plants when self-fertilized. If something is purebred tall and it self-fertilizes, what do all their offspring have for height? Tall. There's no short produced. If something is purebred white, or if the pea plant is purebred white, all of its offspring through self-fertilization are going to be what color? They're all going to be white. Okay? There's nothing except the same trait that's in the parent. That's what purebred or true breeding means. So the first thing that Mendel did, he had a little section in his greenhouse of purebred purple. All right, those are my purebred purple right there. Probably isolated them off. Then over here, he had some purebred white. Then over here, he had purebred tall. Then he had purebred short. Then he had purebred with yellow seeds. Then over here, he had purebred with green seeds. And then over here, he had purebred with constricted pea pods. And over here, he had purebred with axial flowers. All right? So that's the first thing he did. It took him a couple of years to do that. All right? He had to check, you know, okay, I got to self-fertilize this plant, make sure everything's all purple. Okay, I want to do it one more time. And eventually, though, he came up with 14 different types of plants that were all purebred. Okay? Once he did that, then he moved on to the actual experiments. But first, he had to have some purebred or true breeding type of pea plants. Any questions on that? I think that's the link right there, isn't it? That should work.
What?
All right, this is what he did next. I'll use purple and white. What he did was he crossed purebred purple with purebred white. Notice what he did though. What's he doing right here? He's cutting off the stamens. Why is he cutting off the stamens?
So they get
the male part of the flower.
So why would you do that?
so that it can't.
So it can't self-fertilize. Right. Okay? He didn't want self-fertilization. He wanted cross-fertilization. When you say you cross-fertilize, that means you have two parents. Okay? So, he crossed a purple flowered pea plant with a white flowered pea plant. And notice again, the purple one happened to have all its stamens cut off. He took some pollen from the white, brushed it onto a brush, and then he put it on the sticky stigma and let that flower develop into a pea pod. Okay? That's called a cross-fertilization. We just say cross. He crossed purebred purple with purebred white. Okay? I wonder what color those seeds, when they grew up, I wonder what color those plants were. So here again is what he did. He crossed purebred purple with purebred white. The purple flowers developed into pea pods. He planted the seeds. What color do you think those plants were? White, purple, lavender, red, yellow.
Every color.
Both colors.
Here's what he did. He planted, or he crossed purple with white, planted them, what color?
Yeah, that's one thing. If I got all the colors.
I'm not going to tell you. If you want to know the answer to that question, you need to go ahead and look at 2.2, because we'll actually go through the results of his crosses, what happened next. So next week or today, if you're interested enough to go in, we can do it today. Okay, that's all I have. You've got three things due tomorrow: notes, concept check questions, and the probability quest.